Is Gary Gensler getting replaced? PayPal released their own stablecoin, and Europe released their first spot Bitcoin ETF. Let's get into it. So let's have a quick look at the markets first, because it has been a bit crazy this week. Bitcoin down nearly 12% on the 7-day chart. It's just under $26,000 at the moment, so we've had a quite significant drop. I don't actually know why it's dropped so much. Maybe more rumors that we're not going to get a spot ETF anytime soon because, well, Gary Gensler is just not in favor of it. But we'll talk about that in the next topic in a minute. But yeah, I mean, the whole market is down. Even the stock market as well is not looking too good. So yeah, good time to buy. That's what I say. Good time to buy. I'll definitely be scooping up some more Satoshis. So yeah, take advantage of this price. I don't know if we're going to go lower. If we do, I'm just going to buy more. Former SEC official predicts crypto mum Hester Peirce to replace Gensler. So if you don't know who Hester Peirce is, she is pro-crypto. She actually works for the SEC at the moment, but is against how it's run. You know, she's not... she doesn't like how Gary Gensler is running the show. She is right-wing, so she could become the leader of the SEC depending on the outcome of the elections next year in 2024. So it says here, John Reed Stark has recently weighed in on the state of current spot Bitcoin ETF applications and why he doesn't expect any approval this year. Regulatory situation on crypto enforcement would take a U-turn if a Republican candidate takes over the US presidency after the 2024 election, appointing crypto-friendly Commissioner Hester Peirce to take over as the agency chairman instead of Gary Gensler. SEC's crackdown on cryptocurrencies began when Jay Clayton was in office. Just a few days before his resignation, Clayton had filed a lawsuit against Ripple for selling XRP as an unregistered security. So that's something I didn't know. I didn't know the lawsuit against Ripple wasn't actually created by Gary Gensler. He didn't file the lawsuit himself. It was the person in charge before him. And then obviously Gary Gensler has obviously continued it. But yeah, that's something that I learned reading this article. So yeah, I mean, the SEC has not been pro-crypto for a long time, even before Gary Gensler. So to have, someone who is pro-crypto in charge of the SEC, hopefully next year, we could see a huge shift in the US and see some proper, fair regulation, which would be good, very bullish. So Hester Peirce has been a vocal critic of her administration and the tough stand on crypto. Stark highlighted Peirce's track record of disagreement and resistance against numerous of the regulatory's crypto-related enforcement actions. He pointed out that if Peirce were to lead the SEC, it's likely that most of the agency's crypto-related enforcement efforts and disruptive actions in the crypto space would come to a sudden stop, which would be good. Growing divide in crypto regulations with the SEC and broader US politics. So it just says here that, people like Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton all kind of shared the same view on crypto. They didn't really like it, but that's obviously changed now. Obviously, Donald Trump has his own NFT collection, and it's come out recently how much he actually owns of Ethereum as well. I think it's like over $1 million worth or something like that. So his stance on crypto has obviously changed. A lot of right-wing kind of politicians have a more pro stance on crypto. We're seeing that with Ron DeSantis, who's obviously running for next year as well. So it's just here, Republican candidate Ron DeSantis has expressed intentions to safeguard Bitcoin and pledged to prohibit central bank digital currency (CBDCs) if elected president. So yeah, and also they don't like CBDCs as well, which is obviously kind of like crypto's evil twin. It's not good news. So yeah, I mean, if she gets in, that would be very bullish. PayPal released their own stablecoin. So global payment processing giant PayPal announced its United States dollar-pegged payment stablecoin called PayPal USD, PYUSD, on August the 7th. The stablecoin is developed on the Ethereum ERC20, and PYUSD is reportedly fully backed by US dollar deposits, short-term treasuries, and similar cash equivalents. So it is backed. How much by, I don't know. I'm always a bit wary around stable coins. I mean, the fact that PayPal is such a big player, and they probably have to undergo a lot more regulations than, say, companies like Tether and things like that, maybe adds a bit more stability in that area, especially with their own stable coin, I guess. So it's kind of a good thing, kind of a bad thing. It's more centralization within crypto, but when it comes to stable coins, you can't really get away from centralization because it has to be backed by something. But yeah, I mean, good and bad. I mean, it's bullish overall because it's just another big player getting into crypto, although PayPal already offers crypto transactions on their platform. But you know, it's good stuff. So it says here, PYUSD will be primarily used for remittances as well as a mode of payment for millions of PayPal merchants. The stablecoin will also be transferable with wallets that support PYUSD, such as Coinbase Wallet and MetaMask. And also, just a quick note, this is only available to US citizens at the moment. So maybe they're just trialing it out in the US. And then if it's successful, then they might obviously allow it to be worldwide. But again, that's obviously down to regulations as well. So yeah, it says here, Crypto Twitter was quick to criticize the centralized structure of PYUSD, which among other things allows the owner to pause transfers and freeze addresses, and also allows admins to increase the stablecoin's total supply. So there's a tweet here from this guy. So the PayPal stablecoin contract is written in an extremely old version of Solidity, allows the owner to pause all transfers, allows the owner to freeze addresses to prevent actions, and allows admins to increase the total supply at will. Which doesn't sound great, but actually if you look at the other stable coins like Tether, they all actually allow this as well. So it's not really that much different from the other stable coins we already have available. So these very same controversial features have often been used by other stable coins issuers to freeze the funds of scammers and hackers. So it is more for, stopping scams and Ponzi schemes and things like that. But that doesn't say that they can't just freeze someone because they don't like them. But there you go. That's the problem with centralized platforms. PayPal's ability to modify PYUSD balances is critical for regulatory and operational purposes. So again, those features, although they don't look great, are probably, again, necessary for them to fall in line with regulations and things like that, I guess. And then the last topic of the day. So first, EU spot Bitcoin ETF hits Euronext Amsterdam exchange. So Europe will welcome a first ever spot Bitcoin ETF. The London-based digital asset management firm announced that its new investment product was going live on the Euronext Amsterdam Stock Exchange on August 15th. As previously reported by Cointelegraph, the offering was touted as the first spot or physical-backed Bitcoin fund that would allow investors to gain exposure to a financial product that is physically backed by BTC. So it's set to trade under the ticker Bcoin. And as reported by Blockworks, Fidelity Digital Assets will handle the custodial elements of the Bcoin ETF. So they're the ones managing the assets it's backed by, the Bitcoin. The asset management firm also highlighted the environment and socially friendly nature of the fund, having added a renewable energy certificate to the ETF. So it says here the fund taps into external data to measure the energy usage of the Bitcoin network. And I think the idea is that they are going to offset the energy so they can keep it kind of carbon neutral, I guess, even though there's a big hoo-ha about, Bitcoin uses loads of energy, but if you actually look at the stats, it's not that much. I mean, washing machines and clothes dryers and things like that use loads more than Bitcoin. And a lot of Bitcoin miners actually use renewable energy because it's cheaper, so they can make more profit. And the fact that there's so much money going into mining, and looking for cheaper alternatives, we've actually seen probably the most amount of investment into renewable energy ever because of Bitcoin, because of people wanting to mine it and looking for more cheaper renewable energies to use to mine Bitcoin. So all that money that's in crypto, a lot of it is actually going towards finding better ways we can produce energy. So it's actually a good thing overall. But obviously, yeah, people who don't understand it obviously use the whole uses loads of energy as an argument, when really, if you look at the stats, it's actually a good thing for the environment, because it's introducing loads of money and investments into renewable energy. So the spot ETF allows investors to gain exposure to the Bitcoin market without having direct ownership or custody of the underlying asset. So obviously it goes against the whole point of Bitcoin. It's an asset that you own, that you truly own. But for a lot of investors, they don't want that risk, or they don't want to hold it themselves. They don't want that responsibility. So they obviously, an ETF, it's usually for bigger companies. They don't want that responsibility holding their own Bitcoin. So an ETF is a great way for, people who either don't understand the tech or don't want the responsibility of holding the Bitcoin themselves. That's when, an ETF comes in handy. And that's why they're so popular as well. The launch of the spot Bitcoin ETF marks a milestone for Europe. So it's great to see Europe, beating the US to something. But again, that's due to the US's kind of like lazy regulations at the moment. But like I said in the previous topic, that could all change next year, depending on who becomes president. It's exciting to see Europe moving ahead of the US in opening up Bitcoin investing for institutional investors who want safe, secure access to the benefits of digital assets using familiar and regulated structures like our ETF. And they've also launched a Bitcoin equities ETF as well. So this differs from the spot ETF in that investors gain exposure to the fund, which comprises stocks from companies with significant investments in Bitcoin holdings. So that's a bit like an ETF that includes companies like MicroStrategy, so companies that actually hold Bitcoin, and also like mining companies as well. It says here, MicroStrategy hold over 140,000 Bitcoin. And we might see another purchase from Michael Saylor soon as well, considering the price has dropped by about 10% at the moment. So I wouldn't be surprised if he buys some more Bitcoin in the coming days, if the price stays at a juicy price of just below 26,000. That's it for today's video. If you like this content, make sure to give the video a like and maybe even subscribe if you want. And try to make this one a bit more snappy and quick. Had a cup of coffee before, so I'm ready myself for a quick episode. But I'll leave it there, and I'll see you next time.